Hi, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes because it's right now 7 o'clock. But this evening's webinar is going to be how to stop overeating. I think that is an issue that many of us have, and especially women, because I think we deal more with emotional eating than anything else. So tonight I'm going to be giving you some tips on pretty much it's more revolving around mindfulness and how when you develop a mindful relationship for the most part with when having your meals and eating, how that can really help you reduce overeating, stress eating, whatever phrase you really want to attach to it. It really does come down to the same thing. We end up overeating. And you guys, overeat on not just junk food, but healthy food as well. So hold on. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And we'll just kind of get started because I have a limited amount of time on here. So, all right, so let's do this. So you'll see here, it's going to be learn how to stop overeating. Let me do something real. I'm gonna try to, oh well. So yes, it's going to be learn how to stop overeating. Okay, so many of us are probably wondering why we overeat. We all have different reasons. Like I said, some people it's due to stress, some people it's due to boredom, some people it's due to just social situations. Perhaps food was a big part of your family growing up. Whatever the case may be, in America, overeating has led to just an increase in obesity as well as diseases. So the majority of people overeat regularly. Is there a unifying reason for this unhealthy habit, or is it dependent on the person? Well, both, as I was just saying. The reasons we overeat can be grouped into 3 categories. I'm going to try to see. I don't know how to make this top part go away, but oh well. So the 3 categories would be your body is confused. We are often in a rush. We eat our meals based around our commutes and lunch breaks versus when our bodies ask for food. Our meals are usually distracted and mindless, and we are barely taking the time we need to recognize when we are full. Of course, our bodies are confused. So that just goes back to we're working too much. So people are working more hours. How much can you get done in 8 hours? It's almost like the workload on people. Let me see, did someone, where did that just go? I gotta, hold on. Here we go. So let me get back to that. So yes, we're working more than we have worked. And because of this, we're just trying to cram in. Like I said, doctors are being swarmed with more patients per hour, clients, those kind of things. Even in school, there's more schoolwork being put on students than there was probably 10 years ago. And I think if I recall, based on kids that I coach currently, I'm pretty sure they said that their lunch period is down to 20 minutes. And if I remember back when I was a student, I think we had 40 minutes at least per period. But that just goes to show you, we're trying to put in too much work in the same amount of time, basically. And so people are eating at their desks, on the job. I know when I coach gymnastics, I'm eating on my feet while I'm coaching. So that's a big part. Your body is confused. You are lacking nutrients. The human body carefully deciphers the information it receives and uses it for future communication. In other words, if you are regularly snacking on unhealthy food when you are not physiologically hungry, this information is being handed to your body as a normal occurrence. So we just start doing it because it's it's what we do. It's what we're used to. And interestingly enough, I'm doing a Gut Thrive program through the whole journey, and not snacking is a huge part of the protocol. So it goes against what some other programs encourage, is to eat every 2 to 3 hours. If you're trying to heal your gut and to improve your overall nutrient absorption, we want to reduce snacking because when we eat frequently, we're using up all the digestive enzymes. And instead of allowing them to restore and to recharge, we're depleting them. So therefore, we're ending up with poor, just less digestive enzymes, especially by the end of the day. And so we're having a harder time digesting foods. And that's going to lead to the next thing, which is you are lacking nutrients. So we're eating too much, too fast. You're lacking nutrients. Again, the human body carefully deciphers the information it receives and uses it for future communication. So as I just stated, if we're so used to eating on the go, that's pretty much what our body thinks is normal. If your snack of choice does not contain the nutrients your body needs, your body does not know how to communicate that the things that it needs, such as essential fats, complex carbohydrates, and high quality proteins. Instead, your body needs to receive these nutrients to signal the finally I'm satisfied now feeling. So I've talked about this in previous webinars. Your body knows what it needs to heal, to function, to have the energy, and just to have optimal well-being. But when we feed it foods that are nutrient free, such as snack foods, it doesn't really matter the calories. It's how nutrient dense is that piece of food. But if you're eating 100 calories, but it's the Oreo 100-calorie snack pack, there's very little to none nutrients. Therefore, your body's going to keep telling you it's hungry because you haven't given it what it needs to function. And so that goes back into finally I'm satisfied now, is when you're finally giving the foods such as apples, whole foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean quality proteins, and the healthy fats, then your body is recognizing that as food and nutrition, and it signals from the stomach to the brain that you're done, you're full, it received what it needed. So by doing that, you are less likely to overeat. But if you're continuously giving it snack food, then you're going to be constantly in the state of hunger because the body is not going to receive the signal from the stomach to the brain that it's satiated, that it's received its nutrition. So food choices are a huge impact on your ability to overeat. You are craving something other than food. So 1, you're just eating on the go too much. That was the first thing. 2, you're eating foods that lack nutrients. Now 3, you are craving something other than food. And I think when I speak with a lot of, women in general right now, emotional eating is a huge, huge issue for more and more women. And I think it's great because we're not trying to hide it. It's not as much of a taboo topic of conversation. In fact, people are telling me more and more that if I were to develop a course for emotional eating, they would be highly interested because we're now starting to become more aware and acknowledging and admitting that food is being used, as I'm about to discuss, as a way to fill a void, or a better way to say that is therapy. While it is possible that you are overeating due to mixed signals and poor nutrition, it is most likely that the habit stems from an emotional response. It is not uncommon to seek comfort and pleasure in food, whether it was a particular stressful day, you got into an argument with someone close to you, or you are going through a major life change. Food can be the easiest form on stress relief, and for some people, therapy, as I just stated. Food can symbolize special events, happy times with people you love, and an easy way of treating yourself. So how many times have we kind of rewarded ourselves with food. I think that's just very common in society. I think it's very common in many cultures. Food is a huge, Italians, I think Hispanics, it's a huge part of their familial gatherings. And it's just a way to show love in so many cultures that food is symbolizing for many people connection. And that can lead to certain cultures, like I just stated, as beginning to overeat. However, the result of using food as therapy is short-lived and can facilitate quite a dangerous habit. While it is okay to allow food to comfort you occasionally, you will be interrupting your body's natural stress response system if you begin to rely on this regularly. And again, with COVID and the on-the-go lifestyle, again, we're seeing so many more people, again, either whether it's awareness or accepting that they have anxiety and depressive modes. We're seeing an increase in all of that. And that's just a sign that our stress response is absolutely off in the body, which can lead to hormonal imbalances galore, and often leads to even like leptin and ghrelin, which are two hormones tightly connected to appetite and appetite control. Those are getting completely out of whack with stress response issues, cortisol, insulin, adrenaline, all those kind of things. What can we do? So if you're aware of like, yes, I overeat. Yes, I have an issue. How can I stop overeating? Whether it's good food or whether it's junk food. We now want to know, what can we do to get overeating under control? While overeating can develop from different causes, as we stated, the steps to get it under control are relatively consistent. First off, you must identify and recognize this as an issue. So like I just stated, you have to be aware of it and you have to kind of admit, yeah, I do overeat and there's an issue at hand. Second, you must make yourself available to try different strategies to combat it. Lastly, you must be ready to take control of your life, health, and happiness. So who's with me? Up next, I'm going to be going into different strategies to stop overeating once and for all. So again, as we just, to recap, first you have to be self-aware that you have an issue with it. Then you have to be willing to try different ways to combat it. And then lastly, you need to be ready to take control of your life, health, and happiness. And I think that's really the key factor there, is you have to be ready. You have to be ready to implement strategies and advice, because I think we all get saturated. There's so many resources out there this day and age for anything you want to do to improve your life, career, health, wellness, whatever. There's resources galore. You just need to get on the internet and go with it. I think what makes the difference between those that actually get the results and move forward with an issue versus those who don't, the ones who actually get the results, they were ready to take the action steps, because you can't move forward without taking action steps. So a big piece of trying to overeat is actually mindfulness. And I know that goes against what so many people want. So many people want just this list of foods that you can and cannot eat. But at the end of the day, that's really not what's going to create a different relationship with food. So that phrase, as well as emotional eating, changing your relationship with food, is the key. That's the biggest piece of so many people's hormonal imbalances, and just weight management. More people, I would say, than less, have very unhealthy relationships with food. And I think the big piece is, it goes back up to what we just talked about. It's used more for therapy, and that's an unhealthy relationship with food. And then they have these negative mindsets towards food as being either good or bad for you. And it just creates this madness, this cycle internally of how we talk to ourselves when it comes to foods. So first, a quick background. Mindfulness is a concept derived by Buddhist philosophies. It is a form of meditation focused on self-reflection. Specifically, the goal of a mindfulness practice is to gain a better understanding of one's emotions and physical sensations and how to effectively manage them. In other words, mindfulness brings awareness and acceptance to the present moment. So awareness, I keep saying that word, awareness is key. And meditation allows you to kind of tune out all the everyday noises and everyday distractions to become more in tune with yourself. Research has found strong connections between a mindfulness meditation practice and physical, psychological, and emotional health. For example, it is reported to reduce stress, compulsive behavior, and emotional reactivity. Also, there is an improvement in relaxation, immune system response, and empathy. I think it's the perfect way to start each day. For me, I purposely will wake up pretty early compared to what time I actually have to go to work, because that is a key, that is a must. Even when I'm on the road traveling, I've created a little ritual that's allowed me to enjoy meditation. And there's truth to the fact that it allows you to feel more relaxed. And because of keeping the stress response down, your immune system is going to be boosted and not as compromised. And then empathy. So while it is possible to condense this into a short description, it is nearly impossible to grasp this concept without trying it for yourself. Luckily, you are not required to begin a formal daily meditation practice to reap the benefits. So next, I'm going to explain to you, like, how can you bring mindfulness to your everyday life if you're not comfortable with it. If the term meditation, you still perceive that as like out there, and for the people of new agey kind of things, we're going to kind of bring this to life in a way that's more practical, and in a way that's like totally revolving around how you eat your meals. So mindful eating 101. Mindful eating is the process of bringing your full attention to your experiences, cravings, physical cues, and emotional response while eating. My current client through the Gut Health, my case study, through the Gut Thrive in 5 program, it's been such a cool journey. She pretty much finished it. And I'm going to be going into a new program with her, another 28-day program. But to see her having truly transformed her relationship with food. So going into it, she was just like, yes, I think my gut needs some work. But by the end of the program, she realized that it was way more than just gut healing. She definitely changed her body, I guess, in the way that she said just yesterday, that she's way more in tune with how food affects her body, how it affects her mood. She felt way more control by the end of the program. So there's obvious benefits. Energy, anxiety had decreased tremendously. Just her outlook on life. And that goes back to the philosophy, it's not philosophy, the science behind the gut-brain connection. But to tie that into this webinar, she's become so much more mindful of eating. And by reducing snacks and acknowledging how her body is digesting foods better, which foods make her feel more energetic, which foods brought her down. That's part of this mindful eating. Many elements compose of this practice. Some include eating slowly, removing distractions, refining communication with your body to recognize true satiety, distinguishing between physical and emotional hunger, entertaining your senses with the details of food, healing negative relationships you may have with food, noticing the way individual foods make you feel. That's key. I think first and foremost, I think to truly get people to change their relationship with food, I think they have to feel that. They have to notice the way individual foods make you feel. And sometimes that does require taking out certain foods, such as elimination diets, and reintroducing them over time. learning to appreciate your food truly. And again, I think that's key too. Learning to look to food as fuel and nourishment, as opposed to pleasure and punishment. So we will go over these components more throughout the time today, but the ones listed above are fundamental to the practice of mindful eating. And I think many of us don't even take time to acknowledge any of those things that were just listed, because again, our go, go, go lifestyles, I can go on about this, but we've disassociated ourselves on a human level in so many ways with technology, that we no longer take time to sit down and connect. There's such a disconnection in so many different ways in life right now that it's beyond just eating. But because of all that, it's flowing over into meals. I mean, how many people sit down at mealtime with families and stuff like that anymore? These shifts allow you to replace negative thoughts, reactions, and habits around food with more conscious and directed responses. By restoring your attention to the present moment, eating becomes a much more intentional experience versus the automatic, thoughtless encounter that has become the standard in today's society. So yeah, eating with intention. Like, what is your intention? I think this is key. Like, we all crave the junk food. I mean, there's no question. You know, that big slice of cake, yes, I still crave that. Or the food, you know, a big juicy burger, we all crave it. But then when you stop and you ask yourself, what's my intention? What's my intention for this meal? So if I just got done with a run and I'm feeling just kind of depleted, my body's dragging, what's my intention for this meal? It's to increase my energy. It's to replenish my muscles, my glycogen stores. So because of that, I make sure that I get, you know, a starchy carb. If my intention of a meal is to just make my body kind of cleanse some of the crud, when you feel a little bit weighed down and you can tell you're holding on to too much toxic overload, then my intention for the meal may be to increase some cruciferous vegetables with some lemon and maybe ginger to just aid in detoxifying the system. So when you kind of step back before you eat a snack or a meal, you might want to ask, what's my intention for the meal? I mean, and when you become so in tune with your body and you understand how certain foods help you, there are times where I can tell I need healthy fats. Like, my body will crave healthy fats. And so it's just, what is the intention for that? So when you're craving and your first response is to reach for sugar, just step back and ask yourself, well, what's my intention? And if you're craving sugar, your intention might be you're missing nutrients and you need to stabilize your blood sugar and your insulin level. So you need to create a meal or a snack that has a healthy fat, a carb, and a protein in a certain combination, just so that you stabilize your blood sugar and your insulin levels, and your energy kind of stabilizes and your focus returns, and perhaps anxiety decreases, because when blood sugar drops, then we have it stems into the whole cortisol is produced more. And then when cortisol is increasing in the body, adrenaline's being rushed into the system, and that's when we feel anxiety. So many people think it's stress, but sometimes it's that adrenal thyroid gut connection, and that's a whole other topic. But my point being is, maybe asking what's the intention of the next meal, or, you know, your cup of tea at the end of the day is to restore, you know, to calm the body and take your body from a state of sympathetic nervous system that it's been in all day to parasympathetic nervous system to allow you to sleep better. So slow your fork. The benefits of eating slower are plentiful. Some include more efficient digestion, better hydration, easier weight management, and more appreciation and enjoyment for the food being eaten. Conversely, eating quickly or our average speed leads to poor digestion, weight gain, and less satisfaction from our meals. It's even been stated that when you make your own food, you tend to make it with more love And when you make it with more love and you're putting time and effort into it, your body takes the food in. It's more available for your body because your body's prepared and is in a state of mindset to, I guess you can say, accept the food. But when you're out at a restaurant, you haven't put the time and effort into it. So the meal's just viewed by the body differently. That's going up. That was something we learned in IIN. In our fast-paced society, there are very little things we take time to do slowly, intentionally. However, neglecting to slow down our eating habits gives us more than a couple extra minutes. It also gives us a lot more extra calories, and we're about to go into this. So when we eat faster, we take in more calories, and you're going to be surprised by how that can add up. So are you going to finish that? It takes approximately, this is something to remember, 20 minutes from the start of eating for the brain to communicate the feels of satiety. In other words, you may not even begin to sense being full until after your meal, because most of us are probably downing our food in about 5 to 10 minutes, but it takes 20 minutes before the brain gets that signal that it's full. Researchers at the University of Rhode Island examined the speed of various participants. The study concluded slow eaters consume 2 ounces of food per minute. So only 2 ounces per minute. Medium speed eaters consume approximately 2.5 per minute. And then fast eaters consume 3.1. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when we go into the calories, you'll see. This differentiation of speed makes a huge difference cumulatively. Using this data, it can be concluded that someone who eats fast will eat approximately 22 more ounces of food compared to those who eat slowly. That just adds up. Another study conducted at the University of Rhode Island calculated the number of calories consumed between different eating speeds, and the results are shocking. Women who ate quickly consumed 646 calories in only 9 minutes. So 646 calories. Women who ate slowly consumed 579 calories in 29 minutes. So when you look at that, you're not thinking that's a huge, differentiation in calories, but look at the time. So when you're gorging food, your digestion just can't keep up with that number of calories. It's going to be overstressed. It's going to end up bloated. And it's not going to function well. A stressed out digestive system leads to so many other issues in the body. So when you're looking at the 9 minutes versus the 29 minutes, yeah, that's less calories. But also the body's been given time to process the food, to digest it, to chew it in the way that it's more bioavailable and not getting stuck in the intestinal tract, but chewed down to more finite pieces, which will just make the nutrients more accessible. So 67 fewer calories in 20 more minutes. So how-to guide for slowing down. Here's the how-to guide. Eating more slowly is much easier said than done. We are faced with an abundance of choices, distractions, and pressure in our daily lives, which easily translates to how we address what's on our plate. Some tips that can help you implement slower eating include: put down your utensils between bites. Set a minimum number of chews per bite. Take a smaller serving at first and allow yourself to go back for more if appropriate. Set aside 20 to 30 minutes to eat each meal. Find an accountability partner that you can pace your eating with. So that's why, like, when you think about, when I go back to, we don't take time to eat meals anymore. We don't take time to slow down and connect and just be in life anymore. I know I don't, and it's a goal of mine. But think about that, when you go out to eat and you're in a different place, a different setting, I think you do eat slower because it's about the experience, and it is just about get the food in me because I've got to go on and do this. It's truly about the experience. If you have any strategies that help you slow down your eating ritual, I'd be happy, share it with me, and I'll share that with my community. So we need to minimize distractions. So you see here this picture. I think this is very common and very typical of the everyday workplace. I'm hoping that with time, I think health coaching and wellness and all that stuff is becoming more mainstream because people are becoming COVID. If there's anything positive about COVID, it has made wellness more, out there. It's people are more aware of it now and more interested. I guess that's the word I'm trying to say. We are surrounded by distractions, whether it be responsibilities or entertainment. Our attention is taken away from eating when we are scrolling through our emails, watching television, or taking phone calls. I mean, just think about when people are out to dinner, how many people are sitting there with their phones rather than focusing on the meal. Whenever your brain is occupied by another task, eating becomes a mindless act. This leaves you susceptible to missing your body's natural hunger cues and often overeating. Next time you eat with distractions, ask yourself, did I enjoy this food? How much did I eat? Am I getting full? Do I feel nourished? So again, that kind of goes back to like your intention before you eat a meal. Ask what your intention for that meal is, And your intent, I mean, when you do that, you might step back and go like, well, I'm not really hungry. I'm just bored, or I feel stressed. And that might really help you, again, bring awareness and then help you make a better decision. If these questions are hard to answer, it is clear indication that you are not truly paying attention to what's on your plate, and in turn, not experiencing the benefits your food can provide to you. Rely on your senses. What senses come to mind when you think of food? Usually we stop at the taste and maybe the smell. So when you think of food and senses, how does it smell and the taste? But honestly, all 5 senses are involved in eating. Let's break it down. So taste, this may seem obvious, but how often do we really pay attention to the individual taste of the food we eat? I feel less and less people actually do this. We don't really stop and take time to tell if it's sweet, sour, bitter, salty, or savory. Can you tell what seasonings are on it? Do you like the way it tastes? I think we're just scorching food. We're shoving it down, and we haven't even chewed it enough to allow our taste buds to take the experience in. The smell of food is closely related to the taste. Notice the smell. Does it smell fresh? Does the smell remind you of anything else? Okay, so I think we do think taste and smell, but when we look at our food, take a look at the shape, color, and size of your food. Are the colors vibrant or dull? Do you think the presentation of the meal looks appealing? Can you tell how it was cooked? So again, what does it visually look like? I eat a ton of salad. So for me, like I love color. So if I have a little bit more vibrant color, the purples and the orange and the reds, it's a little bit more appealing than like a Caesar salad to me. That's just kind of bland. So for me, color. And when I know I'm getting color, I know I'm getting more antioxidants. Pay attention to the texture of the food as you are eating it. Is it crunchy, chewing, grainy, greasy? Is it hot or is it cold? Is it dry or moist, light or heavy? We were just talking about this today. I eat sweet potatoes pretty much almost every day. But I've come to really, really like purple sweet potatoes because I like the texture. It's a little bit tougher. And I made an orange regular sweet potato today. And I was like, hey, I don't know if I like this one as much because it was just a little mushier. So I've come to really like, I think it's Japanese yams, which are white sweet potatoes. But I really like the purple because I think I enjoy the texture and the flavor, but I enjoy the texture of those because they're just a little bit tougher. They're not as mushy. So again, pay attention. What do you like? And when I make salads, I often like to have a combination of warm vegetables with some raw, crunchy vegetables. I like the mixture. Part of that is because steamed or cooked vegetables are easier to digest, which are very recommended if you struggle with adrenal dysfunction. While raw vegetables provide the body with some live enzymes, which are good for digestion as well. So sometimes I like to just combine the two. So I get a little bit of both worlds in a meal. And salads sometimes make me cold internally. So listen, this is an interesting one. Believe it or not, food makes noise. When you bite into it, does it crunch? Do you slurp it? Research has explored how people interact with their senses of their foods. Plates filled with food of strong aromas, vibrant and varied colors, and a pleasant, smooth texture provide more satisfaction to the participants. So again, if it just looks pretty, it's just like packaging. We get pulled in to certain packaging on products, but meals are the same. This prevented overeating by feeling they truly had enough food the first go around. Hydration. So we're going to touch on this, which this can be very, very helpful when it comes to not just proper digestion, but again, that whole thing that we just talked about where 20 minutes, it takes 20 minutes for your body to fully get that signal that it's full. Did you know that the same part of your brain is responsible for communicating when you are hungry and when you are thirsty? I think a lot of us are aware of this more and more. This explains how easily we can confuse the two sensations, hunger versus thirst. Whenever you begin to feel hungry, try drinking a glass of water and wait 15 minutes. You may be surprised to discover how that satisfies you. And I personally like a drop of peppermint essential oil in my water because it just flavors it, but it also provides you with a little bit of a digestive aid and stimulation. Alert, become a little more alert. And it gives you a little sweetness. It does kind of conquer a sugar craving. Whenever you begin to feel hungry, I just said that, even if you are hungry and not misinterpreting it for thirst, it's still beneficial to implement this practice. Drinking a glass of water before a meal starts to send the signal of feeling full to the brain before you even start to eat, as we just touched on. Okay, sleep. Sleep, I mean, there's so many things I think we're lacking in wellness in general because of the go, go, go. But sleep, I think I noticed I get easily an hour to an hour and a half less sleep this year than I have previously. And it has affected just my body and your hormones. It truly does. A healthy sleep schedule is crucial for many of our body's natural processes. After all, our sleep cycle is the time for our bodies to make the necessary switch from our fight or flight sympathetic nervous system to our rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. Waking up has been one of the biggest issues for my Gut Thrive clients between those hours of 1 and 3 a.m. And luckily I have certain little tidbits and advice. And there's an amazing supplement, PS Plus, that is known to bond to cortisol, to bring cortisol levels down and to take your body into the parasympathetic nervous system. And that supplement is like godsend to many people who do struggle with adrenal issues. And when you have adrenal dysfunction, cortisol is just, it's part of the issue. And sleep is then compromised when you're in stress overload. Inadequate sleep relates to an increase in hunger signals. A study published in Sleep showed that those who only slept 4.5 hours a night for 4 nights in a row ate 300 more calories and snacks in one sitting versus those who have gotten over 8 hours a night. And 300 extra calories a day adds up to, I'm trying to think of how that works. I think it's just an average of 300 increasing your caloric intake by 300 calories each day leads to a pound of weight per week. So don't quote me on that, but that's easily a way to increase pounds per week. Further studies have found that this lack of sleep causes a rise in a chemical that has proven to cause people to overeat, specifically with foods that are high in sugar, salt, and fat. It is important to note that the quality of your sleep is the emphasis here. The quality of your sleep, how much deep-rooted restorative sleep are you getting? Just because you have been in bed for 8.5 hours does not mean you slept soundly and woke up rested. If you have trouble maintaining a healthy sleep routine, try out some of the tips to get you prepped for a good night's sleep. Take a warm bath, drink a cup of chamomile tea, listen to soft music, cuddle up with a good book, limit screen time before bed, avoid alcohol, caffeine, and excessive sugar late in the day, practice relaxation techniques such as gentle yoga or breathing exercises. I'm trying to think. Diffusing. I personally, I really love diffusing essential oils. So this is labeled, sorry, I have plans. It is a common scene. Shortly after eating dinner, we are looking for a snack. Does that sound familiar? Even when we're so full, we still feel like we have to cap off our day with some form of snack. Although many people report that they experience strong food cravings in the evening, it turns out that there is a decline in the activation of neurological reward pathway or the mechanism that allows food to satisfy us or hit the spot. This phenomenon is actively being studied, yet questions still arise on why it is happening and how to combat this tricky reaction. The best advice is to stay busy. Making after dinner plans, whether it is to meet up with a friend, watch your favorite TV show, or begin a new book, can overcome this sensation. The key is to make sure it is something enjoyable. That way you are experiencing joy in something beyond your plate. And I think, again, that goes back to when we were talking about relationship with food and how oftentimes we're using food as therapy. And big piece is we're not including enough things that are joyful in our lives. And I am the queen of that. I am constantly, I may not be on the job somewhere, but I'm constantly actively thinking about how to pursue something else and do something that I fall prey to this big time. But stay busy, have plans, and that way you will be less likely to eat later into the night. And when your body is still digesting food, you're not going to sleep well. So it's very, very important that you leave that window of about 3 hours before you go to bed to allow proper digestion. And this is something that I've learned through the Gut Thrive program, as well as the adrenal dysfunction program. Getting 30 grams of protein first thing in the morning will set up your metabolic rate for the rest of the day. And getting that 30 grams of protein is setting up your circadian rhythm to allow you to sleep better at night. I never really knew that. So for me, that's something that I'm working on in the morning, is because I kind of gave up on a protein smoothie first thing in the morning, but I'm experimenting with that. But just not adding a bunch of stuff into it, but keeping the protein smoothie kind of simple with just a protein powder that I enjoy with water. For the most part, maybe some greens, but as a way so it's easy to digest still, because I personally think when you have a heavy protein content with a heavy healthy fat content, like when I see people putting half of an avocado, almond butter, flaxseed, that for my body, it's just too much. So I prefer lighter, but when you're putting that 30 grams of protein into your meat body at like breakfast and lunch, roughly 20 to 30, then I think later in the day, you're not going to overeat as much because your body has consistently received enough nutrients and protein in particular. So then by the latter half of the day, a meal that might be a little lighter. That's what works best for me. Now, again, so you turn this back again, if you have adrenal and thyroid issues, Sometimes you might need a bedtime snack, and I have some ideas, such as golden milk, or there's, what I learned is a half a banana with sea salt or pink Himalayan salt and a few cashews, just a few, 10 cashews. But that has shown to help the body go into a more restorative state. So again, you have to know your body, but if you have adrenal and thyroid issues, you have to make sure you're nourishing those. And you can't do, like, that's why keto can be very detrimental to people with that. But rule of thumb, try to give yourself about 3 hours of a window between when you finish a meal and go to bed, because if it's heavily digesting food as you go to bed, you're not going to sleep well. So get out and do something. Point of that is find something to do each night that you enjoy. Make some space. Creating some distance between you and your plate once you feel full is a simple and effective way to minimize habitual grazing. The act of pushing your plate away from you, or even putting it all away completely, tells your brain that you are done and there is no reason to keep eating. I put everything away. I'll make my salad, because I do bowls typically with like salad bowls, but I always put all the condiments away, and I tend to even clean up like the utensils that I was using, and I put those so that when my meal is prepped, that's my meal. But many people leave food out, and when it's left out in the containers and everything else, and you eat and then you go back to clean up, you're probably more likely to graze. If you put your food out of easy reach, it makes more effort to get more. This effort changes this decision into an intentional one versus mindlessly snacking on the leftovers in front of you. The same concept goes for snacks. If snacks such as candy in the office are within reach and visible, it is much more likely that they will be eaten more frequently without much thought. However, if these pesky treats require a walk to the break room to indulge, it is now your choice to get up to get some. So out of sight, out of mind, basically. Remove the traps. So know what your triggers are. You have to, again, that's where the mindfulness and self-awareness come into play. You have to know what your triggers are. Here are a few tips on removing traps that encourage overeating in our lives. Order less and allow yourself seconds if needed. So when you're out to restaurants, they pretty much are giving you triple the serving size of what is considered normal. Now, if you don't go out to eat all the time, I don't know. I'm just big on, if you're going to go to the restaurant and you get a meal, enjoy it. But if you're eating out all of the time, again, I would definitely say order sides, because they typically give you a little less with side orders. But if you go out here and there, enjoy the meal. Don't overthink it. Use smaller plates and taller glasses. That has worked for me tremendously, because I can eat a ton of salad. And even though it's like healthy, the fiber content can make it really hard to digest. So smaller plates have helped just portion control. And then taller glasses, if you're drinking water, then you're drinking more water. Play around with the color of your dishes. Have healthy, filling foods always available, and don't eat from the package. And again, if you have any tips I should add to this list, I would love to know, because I'll share that with the community. Aesthetically pleasing. I think this is really important. And I don't think we do this enough, but again, it's talking about the experience we associate with meals. We seek pleasure naturally. This could be from food we eat, the things we listen to, the view out our windows, and the joy of good company. That being said, we are not solely filling up on the calories of the food we eat, but the amount of joy we experience by seeing it, smelling it, sharing it, and eating it. I really think the only time of day I do this is in the morning. I have a ritual. I like my cup of coffee. I have my diffuser on. I'm sitting right next to it. It's calm. I don't like a lot of lighting. I like it to be just kind of, calm, but sometimes the sunshine coming in. That's super important to me. And that's like my favorite time of the day, that I take a long time to drink a cup of coffee. And then I eventually go and I make the smoothie, but I take my time. Again, that's why I will wake up really early. But it allows my body to just kind of prep and to find that state of just like we're talking about mindfulness, calmness, meditative. I do all that first thing in the morning. Taking the time to set the mood for a meal can noticeably increase the satisfaction it brings you. Some examples of how to do this are use your best dishes. I don't think anybody really does that anymore, but I think if you have plates, I have some that I like to use that are colorful. Prepare it nicely on your plate. Light a candle, again, just kind of that calming mood. Play relaxing music and invite your favorite people to join. What do you do to increase the pleasure of your meals? Nutritionally balanced. Much of the food in today's food supply lacks the nutrients our bodies need. Instead, they are carefully engineered chemicals with the goal of tricking our brains that we are hungry. The food industry is, I mean, they know this to a T. They have got the consumers pulled in with extra sugar, and even if it's not the added sugar stuff, it's the sugar substitutes. And just so many chemicals are going into our bodies now. And again, that's why our hormones are out of whack, why people are having issues with fertility, anxiety, depression. What else? I mean, there's so many things to tie into all that. ADHD, ADD, and even autoimmune issues because of the chemically engineered foods. You heard this right. Most of the processed food we eat today signals that we are hungry after eating them versus satisfied. Because of this lack of essential nutrients, you are consuming excess calories before your brain is even aware that you've eaten enough. Your brain is patiently waiting to receive the protein, fiber, and vitamins you need to function properly. Each meal should be constructed with nutrients in mind. High quality proteins like meats, eggs, milk, and beans and fiber featured in most vegetables combat overeating. I prefer non-dairy milk because milk is super inflammatory for the body. It increases mucus in the body. And I would say keep your animal products. I don't know. I think you should minimal to 1 time a day for the most part. There's various views on this, but animal protein is very acidic to the body, and an acid environment is the right environment for cancer cells and disease, basically. So you want a more alkaline body, and vegetables and more of your whole food based nuts, seeds, those kind of things are a little bit more alkaline for the system. So, but when you eat your meats, this is key. Pasture-raised eggs and not conventionally raised meats, but rather grass-fed. I know when grass-fed beef was first coming onto the scene as the new thing, it was definitely more expensive, but now you can get grass-fed beef, ground grass-fed beef for reasonably priced per package, and it's really not that different from conventional. So again, use meats and animal products as more of a condiment than it is the main meal. The main meal needs to be those anti-inflammatory foods, such as the vegetables, keep nuts and seeds at minimum, but the vegetables, and then, a little bit of starchy grains perhaps, or starchy vegetables, but non-starchy vegetables are really what you want in the highest amount. Your brain receives this message and signals the feeling of fullness more accurately and much faster versus the empty calories of packaged snack foods. I can remember just like downing almost a bag of pretzels, but I was thinking, oh, they're low fat. And they appear to have less sugar, but they're refined white flour, and refined white flour turns into sugar much faster. So no wonder I could eat so many of those Trader Joe's honey wheat pretzel sticks and never feel full. I wasn't getting nutrients. Quit skipping meals. Again, start your day with 30 grams of quality protein. It's a common theme that our lives are busier than our meal plans. Maybe you woke up too late to eat breakfast, or your lunchtime is stolen by extra work that needs to be done. These are not good excuses for missing meals, but sometimes it is out of your control. Instead, try to plan to have something available that is easy and nutritious for when you are in a pinch. At the very least, have some filling snacks around, as this avoids overeating once you finally get to a meal. My rule of thumb is try to eat as much whole foods. I think I'm down to just like 3 processed things a day, and that includes my protein powder. And I have a tendency to like a bar, whether it's a Lara bar, whether it's a RX bar. I do find myself addicted to that. But honestly, a big portion of my food is whole food. And when you do that, pretty much guaranteeing you're getting food with nutrients. This step, and so for instance, the snack thing, today I had the option of like, man, I really want one of those bars. But I chose an apple instead, because the apple is going to have the fiber, the water content, the skin of the apple is high lycopene, I believe. But anyway, it's good for cholesterol issues. But anyway, it's like when you look at snacks and your intention, like I was talking about, versus a cookie versus an apple. Well, they could be the same calories, but which one is actually going to give your body the nutrients to tell the brain it's done? So that's something important to think about. So this deprivation of food throughout the day leads to your body feeling it needs more than it actually does. As a result of drops in blood sugar, release of hunger hormones, and a strong urge to overindulge. And again, that goes back to why I think you should start your first 2 meals of the day with a pretty decent protein content, because then I think you're less likely to overindulge as the day goes on. And those protein contents allow your body to go, it's good to go 4 to 6 hours in between meals, again, unless you're in adrenal dysfunction. And with that, the 2 to 3 hours is needed until your adrenals are restored. But for most people who are healthy adrenals and response to stress, 4 to 6 hours, you really want meals devised that allow you to go that long, so that your digestive enzymes are not getting depleted, but they're constantly getting restored and recharged and working optimally for a variety of foods. Stress management. Stressful situation leads to the release of cortisol, or better known as our stress hormone. It is no surprise that this hormone relays to hunger promotion. Although food is often seen as a quick fix for stress, it is not a healthy habit. Instead, try practicing some of these stress management techniques when you begin to feel like you need comfort from your food. Go for a nice walk. Nature always works. You need that each day. You need to be surrounded by just calm, peaceful nature. Take a warm bath, listen to your favorite music, start a new book, much of what we just read about calming before bed. Arrange to spend time with your loved ones, schedule a massage or a facial, exercise, and practice meditation. And if you want me to, there's a meditation aimed to help you heal from emotional eating, and I can send that to you. I might actually put that, we'll see if I put that on my healthy lifestyle page. Power of accountability, just like anything in life. When people hold you accountable, you tend to follow through. Involving your family and close friends in this process can be beneficial to not only them, but to you too. The power of accountability is very strong, and you may find that sharing the experience with them helps you savor the experience more, pay more attention to your meal together, and better avoid overindulgence. I think it's really common. You're either healthy as a family together, or you're not healthy, or as a couple or not. I think it feeds off of each other. I know I've had an impact on Chris. I don't tell him what to eat. I never have. We kind of still eat different meals, but I've also influenced his awareness. And I mean, I never thought I would hear the day that he said he would not like McDonald's. And he just said it yesterday, that he never has any intention of eating at McDonald's again. And that's not because I preach him or I look down on it or whatever. It was simply because you influence each other. And I think when you see that people are healthy, and then you start to realize, well, they look healthy, they're aging well, blah, 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 then you're more likely, well, I got to get on this bandwagon. And what are they doing? So I think it tends to flow over into families if they carry the same habits. Having someone to discuss this process, share the transformation, and rejoice in the benefits with is an incredible tool to end overeating for good. So these are things you want to ask yourself. Speaking to yourself is encouraged when you are looking to refine your body's communication. And these are a few things that you want to ask. Am I hungry? Am I satisfied? Do I really need more food? What is causing me to crave more? How fast did I eat? Did I eat intentionally? Did I enjoy what I had eaten? Would I have changed anything? Those meals that you make that you just don't enjoy, but you're eating because you know it's good for you. I've had those meals where I'm scrambling something together and it just didn't taste well, right? It didn't taste as good. It really is important. You're going to have that from time to time, but in general, definitely find, you do want to get a variety of foods. So that, again, it goes back to what I'm learning in this program. If you only eat certain foods all the time, then your body stops producing digestive enzymes. So for instance, if you're vegan or vegetarian solely, then your body stops producing digestive enzymes that help digest animal protein. At least it won't digest it well. So it's kind of like, unless you're this hardcore animal rights person, it's really optimal to make sure you're getting some animal protein throughout the week. And especially, I keep going back to adrenal and thyroid issues. Animal protein is really, really important for people with those issues, but quality sources. So I tend to choose, I keep it simple, I keep it easy, wild caught salmon in those little packets. And again, so you have to have like a quality animal protein, but vegetables and fruits and stuff that you really enjoy. But I'm telling you, it comes down to herbs and condiments. That will make any meal. So if you have like a quinoa bowl with veggies and stuff, you're going to enjoy it as long as you have the right condiment. There's a really good cleansing cilantro pesto. It's a cilantro oregano pesto that I received from The Whole Journey. So easy to make in the food processor. That I put on my salads, and it's really good. It's cleansing, it's detoxifying, so good for reducing heavy metal toxicity in the body. But you have to have that condiment. Mustard for me, honey mustard, just a solid honey mustard, not honey mustard salad dressing, but honey mustard. But so check your labels and see what are you getting that's as pure as possible. Hummus, I highly recommend Hope brand. Or I think it's Blue. It's from Boulder, Blue Boulder. It might even be called Blue Boulder. You do not want hummuses with canola oil or any of those safflower oils. You want to try to stick to strictly like extra virgin olive oil. And Hope Hummus is my go-to brand. I use that as a condiment, as a way to make a meal that's full of nutrient-dense foods taste healthy, or taste very good. Honor your responses if you ask yourself these questions and adjust accordingly. Remember that it is unlikely that this change will occur overnight. However, there are many strategies you can begin to implement immediately that will make a huge difference in your battle against overindulgence. And that's pretty much the webinar tonight. And these are things that I've been working with. I currently have 2 clients. But the one that got done with the program, and then I'm going into my revitalized 28-day transformation program, it's been really good because I hadn't really, I've only was just doing group programs via Facebook where I would just put stuff up. And now I'm realizing that when I do these programs and I meet with them every single week, so it's been every single Saturday for about 14 weeks with one of them. And I just give out just enough information to go through the next week. But all of this information, it's been digestible for them. And it's really, really helped. I don't know, it's been really cool information feedback to me because I have to present this stuff to a panel in order to become Gut Thrive in 5 health practitioner. But it's been just kind of like eye-opening, like just how much, not just the gut program itself because of the supplements to go in and clean out all the bad stuff, but there's a huge part of it is also learning and developing a relationship with food in a way that food has transformed their well-being to the point that like she was wanting to cancel doctor's appointments. She didn't, but she was wanting because her digestion just suddenly turned around and even like, emotionally. So developing a healthier relationship with food is key. And I think what's key in order to do that is to understand how food works with your body. And promotes wellness, both, all physically, mentally, and emotionally. But sometimes we have to slow down in life and we have to take time. And as we just said, it's just like a relationship with anything else. It's a relationship. So yeah, so that's going to be my webinar. I recorded this, so I'm going to put it on. So if you didn't get a chance, or you want to go back and you want to watch it again or share it with somebody, I'm going to put it on my YouTube, and then I'm going to put it on my wellness group page. But yeah, definitely always feel free to share some of this information because it will be helpful. But just all these programs, it's really going to be about changing relationships with food. So kind of stay tuned. Over summer, I'm going to start working on an emotional eating course. But right now, this Gut Thrive, I can't tell you how much it has been like, it's so beneficial, but also the Revitalize 28-day. You can check out my website. I have another clean eating for the busy person, which is a 14-day, pretty much do it yourself program. That one's too short, too small. But yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, then don't hesitate to reach out. If you have sleep issues, I have some really good things that I can suggest to help you alleviate some of that you can try. I can't speak enough about pure encapsulations, PS Plus. Again, you really want to make sure that you do have a cortisol issue, but the common symptoms of that, waking up between 1 and 4 a.m. on a regular basis, to where that often means your cortisol is spiking when it should be down. But yeah, stress management, sleeping healthy sleep habits, proper nutrition. But yeah, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. And thank you for listening in. It's just you. But I am recording this, so this will go on YouTube. But all right, guys. Well, next week I'm actually going to be on and doing an essential oils webinar. So at this time, I'm going to be doing the same time, but I might need to change the time because for people that live in different time zone, it ran into their evening meal. So I have to figure that out. But anyway, all right. Well, have a good evening and check out my website page. Just stay in touch through my Healthy Lifestyle Habits page. All right. Have a good one. Bye.